On Second Shot, we tackle 2 new headlines every week to find out what kind of wisdom the world is dishing out today. And we want you to be a part of that. When you see a headline you want to take a second shot at, or if you're looking for advice, or just want to tell us what you think of the show, email us at secondshotcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, rate us on iTunes. This helps us move up in the ratings so more people will see us. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the show so that the new episodes will get straight to you every single Friday. We love you. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Heath Oakes is a millennial mogul whose ignorance on fire led him to fail his way to success. Jenny Anchondo is an Emmy award-winning journalist whose sharp eye and biting wit have led to her storied career in television. Together, they tackle today's headlines in a way only an odd couple with a dash of perfect opposite can. So kick back, relax, and join the conversation. This is Second Shot with your hosts, Heath and Jenny.
Jenny's over here dancing, moving, grooving, knocking stuff over.
I know. I'm too caffeinated right now.
The new intro has got it shake. It shakes, man. It's good stuff. I like it a lot.
I do too.
Yeah,
you guys are good.
It slaps, as the kids would say.
Yeah.
Jenny, Zach, and Matt. We've got the whole crew here as always.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Jenny and I, as this show comes out, are up in Canada or Oklahoma, Texas border, whatever, pretty much same thing. At Tanglewood Resort up there, like Lake Texomary and stuff. Our church is having a marriage retreat for the weekend.
Really?
Yeah, there's Dr. I forgot what it's called. Our pastors, they have they're certified in this
Gottman Institute.
The
it's the
Gottman
Gottman Institute.
Yeah.
And there are certain therapists that sort of follow this whole Gottman Institute.
Yeah, for marriages.
Ordeal, and our pastor suggested it to us, and we go to our marital counselor does the Gottman Institute program.
And our pastors are both certified in it too, so they're doing a marriage retreat up there for tonight and tomorrow on with a lot of other couples, obviously, from the church, and we'll be doing it. So we're pretty excited about that. Like, we love learning and trying to see what to do to be get better and do all
just
this
like a little tune-up or something?
We're going to come back as the perfect couple. So we'll give you guys all the tutorial when we get back.
You're leaving as the perfect couple, so no change there. Funny story. When I was a kid, we used to go to Tanglewood Church Camp.
Oh, really?
I went there for summer.
That's where y'all's church
I'm
camp
pretty
was?
sure it's, Tanglewood, right? It's got to be. Yeah.
There's only so many.
That's the coolest summer camp I ever went to.
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, I don't know if it's any different or how it's changed or whatever, but yeah, a few fond memories of that place.
I like Tanglewood. I've taken my team up there and done a meeting and a night stay at the Tanglewood Resort before.
Yeah.
It's cool because it's quick, it's close, but it's far enough, type of thing.
You got everything you need. You got a cafeteria out there. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but it's got more than a cafeteria. You were out at the church camp part of it, probably.
I was in the kids section. That's right.
We were at the resort part.
I did have to remind Heath 53 times that we were signed up and going to this marriage retreat.
Yeah.
Well, because it changed, and that's why it had me thrown off. It was supposed to be last fall, right before Christmas, and I guess that they canceled it and moved it to now. So, it has messed with my head because I thought we were going, but then it was off, and then I forgot they restarted, so I just was messed up.
At one point, I said I was going on my own.
Yeah.
Which isn't super advantageous for
valuable.
a couple.
Yeah. But we're going. We're gonna be there, and it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We both strongly encourage that that people that are married should, on a regular basis, be getting some sort of I feel like if you had 1 2-hour therapy session as a couple once every quarter is for the rest of your life is very smart.
Yeah, right.
Just to do to continue to work on yourself, your things, and all of those things.
Yeah, you might be stunned how much comes out of the woodwork, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that what it does for me is instead of thinking, I think if I heard Heath say, hey, we really need to go see somebody, I would be really discouraged. If we hadn't regularly gone, I would feel really hurt. I would take it very personally. That's just
and that's why
me
a lot
and the way that I
ingest
things. But if I know that we have a standing appointment, we go once a month if we can, but we would try to keep appointments, once a month, once every other month. And if I know that that's coming up, then I know that, okay, if there's something that we need to work on, it will maybe come up during that session. And so nobody really is taking offense as much as somebody would if the other person would be like, hey, we've got issues. We need to go see somebody.
Yeah.
When it's just a standing appointment, it's just more like we're doing work just like you go to work out.
Yeah.
I think that applies to like almost any therapy, right? It's like going to the
Definitely.
dentist. You know, if you only go to the dentist when your tooth hurts, you're already starting out on the wrong foot, right?
Totally,
It's maintenance.
Yeah,
right?
well, and I think the reason is because of people have a stigma with it that are scared to admit it, saying that they have problems versus being a very intelligent. I mean, marriage is work. It's work. You've got to work with each other and work on it, and it is such an emotional thing that both sides get very rational often.
Yeah.
So having somebody that is intelligent, that is a mediator, that knows that continues to work on stuff, and then, like you said, we have our standing appointments, and it may have just been the most bliss time ever. But when we go there, we work on stuff that could potentially come up that way. When they do, it's not as big of a deal. I strongly encourage couples, no matter how perfect your marriage is, and you're great and grand, to do find a good marriage counselor and have it a standing appointment however much you can, to just have it on there. And I feel like, I can tell you, obviously we only have a couple years experience here, so we're not like acting like we're marriage
definitely
gurus.
not the pros.
I can just tell you that I think it's helped us tremendously.
Yeah.
Especially since we were only knew each other for 6 months before we got engaged.
Sure. And you're both so independent.
Yes.
Yeah. When you're like,
so there's a lot to work through.
yeah, totally.
There is.
I get that. Yeah, you both got dreams and goals. First story on the show. This will be a quick one. Estimated $5 million worth of cocaine found during a traffic stop. An estimated street value of $5 million worth of cocaine was discovered during a traffic stop on Interstate 10 on Friday, according to the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. Officials, good Lord, say Sergeant Randy Thurman and his canine partner Colt stopped a Mazda just after 11:30 a.m. for a traffic violation. The sergeant noticed several indicators of narcotics trafficking and was given consent to search the car. Every seat was made with aftermarket compartments and used to conceal about 50 kilos of cocaine. The driver was arrested for drug possession. Heath, please take it away.
Well, he said in there that the driver gave consent for it, right? And then the cop obviously dug under the seats and stuff and found all the cocaine. So it made me think about, I think a lot of people have issues, and a lot of people will struggle in different relationships and say, I gave that person an inch and they've taken a mile. Right? How many of y'all have
Oh, definitely.
Sure.
Oh, yes.
been in a situation like that, right? And I think that sometimes I think you need to make sure that not a lot of people will let that wear them down big time. Okay? And it'll also make people think, I gave this person, now I'm not giving anybody ever anything else because they're going to take that mile from me, right? And that's just not a way to be. I think what you've got to take in those situations is, in my opinion, the give an inch, and if you're struggling with that with somebody, you've got to just change your perspective that at least now you know who that person is, and then you can reevaluate that relationship and get a different perspective on it so you don't have those type of feelings, because you may have thought it was one thing and then it's not, and that's what hurts really bad. But if you just change it, go, okay, well, now I know what I have, so now you know what to put in that relationship and what not. And giving an inch and people taking a mile, if it ever has to do with you helping somebody and giving back to somebody and helping them in some way, you don't ever want to think about it as giving an inch and them taking a mile. Like you're investing in somebody else to help them and to be an encourager or whatever it may be. But you have to know those times that maybe you feel like it's gone way too far, and just slowly kind of back up some. And doesn't mean you have to make a big scene out of it and go put it to it, but change your perspective that maybe it's just not that relationship you thought it once was, and not let it bog you down.
Right, and not keep your mind focused on it so intently. Yeah, so this happens to me often because I give lots of inches, and that's just part of my personality. I'll probably always be a little bit that way, but I've started to get better about the habit of setting some sort of time constraint, for example. So like if I do a lot of hosting events for charity, I will often do that as donate my time to that. But sometimes what will happen is you donate your time and then it becomes an endless amount of time where they need you to appear at this event and they need you to post this on your blog and they need you to do this. So I'll say, yes, I will host this event, and that will include one hour meeting. I do those meetings on Wednesdays, so let me know which Wednesday you'd like to do, and it'll be from 12 to 1, and we can cover everything during that amount of time. So I'm sort of, I don't want to say taking control of the situation, but I'm setting up what my availability is to donate to this cause, and then they can take it or leave it. If they're like, ooh, we kind of need somebody to host this event who is available for the entire week, beforehand, well, then they're not disappointed in what I can offer. And I also don't feel like I'm giving up everything for this group or organization. As much as I want to donate my time, there are other responsibilities. So,
well, you have your hand-selected ones you really do, and
yes.
that you go all out with,
and then
and
others,
that's it.
you know, I mean, this is what I do for a living. So for others, then I do need to charge for it. But if I'm saying, okay, sure, I'm going to donate, then I set aside, this is the availability for my meeting time. I can show up 1 hour before the event. I will need to be done when the event is over, you know, and set it up so then if they're on board, then it's great. And if they're not and they need somebody who can do more, then that's great too, as opposed to just saying, sure, I'll do it, and not setting any sort of expectation.
Then you regret it the whole time.
Then I regret it. Yeah, but you know, I've done that a million. I mean, I've done that a lot. It took me a very long time to get to this.
You used to not set parameters, and now you do, and it's changed big time for you.
Yeah, and it made it to where I wasn't as I wasn't helping. I was helping with a little bit of regret, and that's never a good way to help.
Fun.
You always want to help just with your whole being. And that might mean that you can only help once a year or once a month or, you know, a smaller amount of time, but it means that you give your all. And yeah, I was just spreading myself too thin on those things and then not feeling as generous as I'd like to feel. And I think that setting the time limits and just saying, I'll be here from this to this time, then they understand and I understand.
I really like this one, and I wouldn't have much time to talk about it, but I was just talking with a couple of friends about this over the weekend. Creatively, I feel like I and many other people run into this. The issue is, how do I best describe this? I say I'll be working on like a video for somebody, right? And they'll say, hey, I like this. Can you make this change and this change and this change? Yeah, sure. So I'll like revise it and send it back. Okay, well, this is good, but what about this and this? To a lot of people, like, it's perception of worth. Like, they look at something you make and they think, oh, well, this only probably takes 10 seconds to turn this around. It's like, well, yeah, to you, it doesn't take long. For me, it took 6 years to learn how to do all this stuff. And then it took time for me to make it and time to put that together and time for that all to become something. And I'm not sure, like, where we get lost in the weeds, but the fact is, it's like, I lost where I was going with that. Nope, totally lost my train of thought.
I think you were talking about I honestly think you were going down that route of the parameters because you didn't really set much parameters around it all. And you were just going.
So you have to set it ahead of time. Like, for example, edits will be this rate.
Yeah.
Or this project includes 2 edits and revisions.
Right. And what that means. And really establish those boundaries with people.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest key. And when you in changing your perspective on that whole giving an inch and people taking a mile thing, you can sit there and look at it and go, maybe you need to set your parameters up ahead of time. That way to kind of keep you in that safe zone and whatnot, or maybe just changing your perspective, that knowing when you're just fully going to be giving time versus the other. And so if you really change your perspective and you set up your parameters ahead of time, you're not going to get into those anger modes of that giving an inch and they're taking a mile thing. You don't want to just go off a whim and do it. Set your parameters better and set it up, and it won't bother you much. We'll be back in the second segment of Second Shot.
He makes up words, she translates them. Heath and Jenny host more of Second Shot, coming up on RNCN.
To all of my friends in the great state of Texas, if you have not taken advantage, I have a way to save you a ton of money. I have saved over about $3,000 in the last year, and I have no hassle. Go to energyogre.com, put in the promo code SECONDSHOT. Now listen, promo code SECONDSHOT, and you're going to get a free month just for signing up and saving a ton of money. So don't be crazy. Stop sitting around talking about, is this the real deal, and go do it right now. energyogre.com, promo code SECONDSHOT, and a free month. Thanks. Go get it now. Run.
Ready? Aim. Fire. Second Shot is back for another round on RNCN.
So we got a little change up midstream here because Matt had to leave and go somewhere. So now it's just the three amigos in here, just Jenny and Zach, and because Matt is out.
Well, I wanted to follow up one more quick thing about our last segment with regards to what Zach was saying. The other thing that setting parameters with your clients can do is it gives them a gift too. Because, for example, if they know they are allotted in this price point 2 revisions, well, then they might feel like there's more value in that for them, because when the parameters aren't set ahead of time, they don't really know what they're getting, and then they ask, and then you might say, okay, well, that's an extra charge, and they're thinking, well, you didn't say so. Or if you keep doing revisions, then you're not getting out of it what you want. And really, when someone hires you, they want you to get paid too. They want you to get what you're worth as well. So setting the parameters ahead of time with regard to, in this example, putting together a video and then getting 2 edits, for example. 2 edits are included. After that, it's this price. Well, it gives a gift to them too. So hopefully keeping that in mind will make people feel more confident when they set up the structure for their clients.
Well, when you say that if you don't give people parameters, then they may not realize they're taking a mile of your inch.
Totally. And they wouldn't want that.
Yeah, absolutely.
People usually don't want to take.
Most won't.
I think you're right. I get caught in the devil's in the details. Like, I get stuck on things when somebody's like, well, I know I use my 2 revisions, but I just need this one little thing on the end. Or like, just, does that count as a revision? Is that a whole thing? I got to work out like round of revisions. That's the way to go. Like, you can send me a list of things twice. And if one of those is one thing, too bad. Like, that's what you got. Like, I need to,
or put that,
I really need to, draw those lines.
Or put the 2 revisions, for instance, Zach.
Yeah.
And then, it's kind of like if you get paid overtime, if you make $20 an hour and it's overtime, it's $30 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
Like after those 2 revisions, anything you ask for, my whatever your basic hours were that you were charging for that, do time and a half of that. So if you want anything after that, it's going to cost you 50% more.
Yeah,
and then people know ahead of time that, okay, I'm really going to try to be specific on my first 2 revisions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, when I start freelancing for people, the folks at Second Shot are going to know.
Yeah.
When I've got this all worked out, you'll be the first to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Well, the second article we have is kind of an interesting one about CNN, specifically a documentary they ran, 3 identical strangers, and 2 twins that reunited after watching this documentary. When Michelle Mordkoff and Allison Cantor were 5 months old, they were each adopted by loving families in the New York City area 2 days apart. The infants, of course, didn't know it, and their families weren't informed, but the girls were twins. This was mid-October 1964. The 2 wouldn't see each other again for more than 50 years. This article goes in to explain how they met each other. Mordkoff had always wondered about her identity, and after watching CNN's 3 identical strangers, she thought, okay, well, maybe, this was around the time I was adopted. Like, maybe I should look into this. So she took an Ancestry.com kind of thing to kind of look at her, genetic history, and she found that she did have an immediate family member, which matched to a young man in California, somebody who was related to him. So she messaged him on Facebook, said something very low-key, like, hi, I'm adopted, and you match with me, as well as your mom. Please write me back. The son reached out to his mom, which was Michelle's sister, Allison, and he said, hey, there's somebody contacting me about being adopted. Can you look on your birth certificate and look at this? And it turned out, after 54 years apart, They met, and they are, in fact, identical twin sisters. Regarding the way this was perceived, this is the most important part of this, I think. The women say their adoptive parents never knew about this. They never knew about this. In regards to the parents, they said they are just as shocked as we are, if not more, because they felt they were getting full disclosure and information about who we were and what our identity was. And that's really interesting. So let's talk about this.
Well, and I will say that with Matt being out, we got to give Zach the break here. But I think, or maybe it's not showing, but like, is on YouTube, Zach, right now? Are they seeing the picture of us with the Google stopwatch?
Yeah, no, I got you. I got you on camera. Don't worry.
Okay,
about
I'm
it.
just not seeing this one. Gotcha. That's
Right.
fine. Jenny was just like pointing it out, and I was like, I don't know.
No. Give me a second. I'll switch it back.
No,
over. I just want
you're
you to
fine.
see the,
Leave it there. I just was
All right.
making sure that I was just
thought
giving you a
Heath
heads
was
up.
doing that, and I'm like, babe, why do you have
No,
that up?
I was just giving you a heads up in case, because heck, Zach just had to change mid-show. That's throwing him
Watch.
off.
Right now, I act like everything's cool. Watch at the end. It'll all be as the Google stopwatch.
Either way, it's all
Eat some
good.
crow.
Most
So-
people are
fine.
listening on the
So,
podcast version.
first of all, has anybody here watched that documentary?
Matt did, I think.
Yeah.
Of course.
He's not here. I know.
But nobody else
I
here
hadn't
has. But
seen
what-
it, and gosh, I really feel for these people, because this is it's unacceptable that people would be separated like that. They no longer the story is that they no longer separate. Every effort is made to keep multiples together for obvious reasons.
But neither people who adopted them knew they were adopting
Correct.
a twin, which is what I think is even worse.
What was the line that I underlined on there, Zach, in pen?
Yeah, they felt they were getting full disclosure and information about who we were and what our identity was.
Okay, so about who we were and what our identity was. So empathy for them aside, because that's a separate issue. That's not the second shot on this. I most certainly feel for anybody who has had this happen. But here's the other side of this. Sometimes we really try to embody what people expect us to be. And in a twin or triplet type scenario, this happens very frequently because there are comparisons and there are, your brother does this. Why don't you do that? This person is better at this. This person's better at this. Sometimes we need to really fall in love with the idea of not being what people expect us to be. Falling in love with the idea of not being what people expect us to be, and let us be who we want to be. So the one gift that these people received was not having to live into the mold of what anyone thought they were.
That's true.
Do you see what I'm saying on that? And we're all gifted with that in our own ways. We can constantly reinvent ourselves. If the person you've been for the last 10 years and the person people think you are is one thing, and that's not who you want to be, just because that's what people expect of you doesn't mean you have to maintain being that person.
Do you feel, is there anything specific you can think about where you maybe fell into that, doing what somebody expected you to be? And is there a situation where maybe you broke that mold?
Definitely. I was always very shy. I was very quiet. I was very non-controversial, non-confrontational, consistently by nature a little bit. But what happened was I started to get more confidence, and there was a weird period of time where then I realized I have so much to say and I have so much to give to the world. And I don't know that everyone was comfortable with that, because people in my world and in my circle saw me as being very, I don't want to say someone you walk all over, but someone who would just be a doer.
Yeah.
I would do whatever was asked of me. And when I started to have my own opinions and my own direction, not everyone was okay with that, because I didn't fit the exact mold that Jenny Anchondo had put out for herself.
You changed.
I changed.
You evolved.
And that's okay. But I also had to be okay with the fact that some people were going to be a little bit like, oh, no. Mm-hmm. No, you're the person who's supposed to say yes to the, we're meeting at this time at this place and you're going to be doing this role. Like, no, I want my own role. Or, I want to have, this works in very small scenarios and works in very, very big scenarios. But I definitely had to change from being that really shy wallflower type person to become the person that I felt I could be.
What caused you to evolve there? What happened? What was it that if somebody that's listening maybe is in some of those same modes, what was it that do you think made that evolve for you?
Oh, that's tough. I would say that there were probably two big turning points. One of them transitioning from classical ballet, and so all the stereotypes involved with that, to doing competitive cheer and dance. So they're two totally different worlds. So in the performance aspect, there was that. Then, if we want to get really deep, I went through eating disorder treatment when I was 23 years old for several years. And that was transformative for me. So people who have ever dealt with an addiction or have ever dealt with, even codependent relationships, things like that, when you break free from that addiction that you have, you really transform as a person. So if you're somebody who's listening to this right now and you have a severe vice or even a small vice, getting rid of that will allow you to stand on your own 2 feet and will allow you to transform into the person you're meant to be. So I was using the eating disorder as a coping mechanism, and I was never my full self, because guess what? I never had to express myself fully because I always had that vice to go back to. So I didn't confront people. I didn't confront situations. I didn't speak my truth. I didn't have any of those skills because I had this crutch. When I no longer had the crutch, I had to address those issues. It was very hard. But anybody who's been through an addiction recovery or something like that will understand. When you come out, you're like, heck yes. I've made it, and this is who I am.
You think that like you said, it's like when you went through that, maybe that gave you the confidence to do that?
At first, it wasn't confidence. At first, it was just like I have no choice but to be myself because I don't have this vice to fall back on. But by doing that, each time you do something that is outside your comfort zone, you prove to yourself that you're worth it, and that's what develops true confidence. When I say I'm going to do this, for example, I'm going to tell my boss I can't work 12 hours today because I need to take care of myself. Every time I did that and I took care of myself instead of going back to my eating disorder and stood up for myself, it brought me a new level of confidence because I realized I am enough. Like, I can do this for myself. And I just said my truth and my boss responded positively and I moved forward. That was like another check mark. Like, okay, Jenny, you're doing okay. Those little proving to myself over time is what created my confidence.
Yeah, and I don't have anything to add to this because that was just fire, what you just got done saying. That was on point. And,
Thanks, babe.
you know, people ask all the time, you know, that what comes first, confidence, or what, you know, like how do I get the confidence up and how did you, you know, get your confidence on it? Well, in the book I talk about it that, you know, with competence, you will grow confidence. You know, so you've got to gain your knowledge of whatever that is you're doing, and whether that's by just screwing it up or whether it's by just the purely like book stuff or going through the treatment type stuff and getting better and fixing on yourself, that competence and of knowing what it was, then you got more confidence and so the competence will breed that confidence, I believe, and you got to take that step.
Yeah, totally. So it could be a little thing. For example, if you're always down and out on yourself, like, gosh, you know what, I'm not a good, I can't stick to this fitness routine that I started. Well, how about you make a goal 3 days a week? You're getting up at 6 a.m. and you're going to do it 3 days a week. Just do it. Make no excuses, do it, because at the end of that week, when you made those 3 times, you will start to feel more confident. No, fitness results aside, I'm talking about your confidence. So if you said, I'm getting up at this time and doing it, when you complete that task, you start to prove to yourself that you're worthwhile and strong, mentally and physically. So it's like the mental wherewithal to commit to something.
Well, this was fire, and I think this was Miss Zig Ziglar on the mic for this episode. That I'm going to turn that over to her. And I loved it, hon. That was perfect. That was great advice. We'll be back on the third segment of Second Shot, maybe for some more Mrs. Ziglar.
Now that's what I call ignorance on fire. More of Heath and Jenny still to come.
You guys have been listening to Second Shot and hearing us talk about it. You need to go pick up my book, Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. You can get it on Amazon in a paper book. You can also hear this beautiful voice of mine in audiobook style on Audible or anywhere you're going to get your audiobooks. Guys, this book took a lot of time to put into it, and I believe it can really be some life-changing stuff to help you on your path to success. And hopefully you're going to fail your way to success just like I did. Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. Amazon.com, Audible.com, audiobooks, paper books, everything. Get it, share it with your people, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Go pick it up today.
Kick off your boots or suit up. The choice is yours. Welcome back to Second Shot on RNCN.
And just so some of you know, a lot of the people and stuff on my team always, they call me up of seeing Lil Ziggler, Lil Zig, because I always quote a lot of Zig. So if you go back to some of the first chat, used to always do that. That's why I was calling her Miss Ziggler.
Miss Zig. That's funny.
Yeah, so in a review, guys, any kind of ratings, reviews, sharing with people that you know can help us out a lot. We really would appreciate it. And also, Second Shot Facebook group. Go join it and join in on the fun where we talk about a lot of things in there. Between all the different members, can get advice for stuff, and you got a great group of like-minded people that can really, I believe, help you out in a lot of ways. I mean, it helps a lot. There's a lot of good dialogue that goes on. So, Second Shot Facebook group. Also, secondshotcast@gmail.com if you want to email anything, and send anything you want us to take a second shot at. But ratings and reviews always help us move up into the rankings so more people can find us. So if you find us entertaining and you find this worth it for you, and you find you get something out of it, then share it with somebody. Tell us, tell them what you think. Maybe they'll watch it and it'll work out for them as well.
Listening to podcasts is cool and hip, and people will think you're neat if you do it. So let people
True
know
that
you listen to Second
True
Shot.
that. And if you're not hip, you can just watch on YouTube.
Yeah,
That's fine too.
You can do that too. That's true.
So I wanted to read a couple of them that were on the iTunes. So January 4th, a DASBUTTS, DOS Butts, maybe?
Das Boots?
Das Butts, BUTTS. So he has 5 stars. Really enjoy the content and interaction. I find the diversity very enjoyable. Keep up the good work. And that's what I like about
very cool.
Because, that was Miss Ziggler there with her cell phone ring around.
Oh, I thought it was me. Oh, thank God.
Well, this morning I was waiting for a really important call, and we were playing. Normally, I always have my phone on silent. If you call me, you always get the voicemail, and I call you back. But anyway, fail.
That's working in any kind of studio. Like your phone is off all the time.
Yeah.
Like just by, you never know.
Well, one of the things that I like about the diversity part of that is that's what we've tried to create, is that, which a lot of people would have told us that doing this type of show like this, it's not going to work because you're not you don't have a niche enough, right? Like you can't talk about relationship stuff and business stuff and just managerial stuff and just kind of being employee stuff. Like it's got to be, you either got to be all about business or just all about couples, you know, people would tell us it's not going to go anywhere being so diverse.
Right.
And, you know, I feel like we're well on the track of proving that wrong, that you can kind of weave in all the other stuff. Another one on iTunes was by Shannon H1125. Very inspirational and entertaining. I have always felt uplifted after listening to Heath and his team on the podcast. Now I'm even more excited to have Jenny's consistent viewpoint. Such a great balance of personality and useful advice and insights. Heath is one of a kind motivator. Congratulations and much continued success.
Can I read one?
Yeah, well, that's what I was hoping you were.
I like that. One. That was it makes me so happy when people feel like this is valuable. And this is one that actually was sent to Heath, but I'm going to read it. Somebody is saying, "Good evening. I am late to the game. I heard of your podcast a number of times, but never took the plunge to listen. I did not understand the draw to listen to a podcast when I could listen to live radio. Boy, was I wrong. Listened to episode 99 and 100 on Monday and decided I needed to start from the beginning. So now he was on this 45-minute drive back and said that it's just an eye-opening experience. So thank you. Shout out to Justin for that comment. And it's true. The fun thing that I like about podcasts too is once I get on one, I'll binge listen to all the episodes. And then I feel like I just read a book or got a tutorial in a certain way of thinking.
I listen to nothing but podcasts as well. Like I have my whole library. I literally do not listen to live radio because it's like, I don't know. I like the time. I like being immersed in learning. And mine are all very different. I mean, I've got some of the journalist ones. I've got the entrepreneurship ones. I've got, all these. But like, I just like, look, if I'm going to be out and about, I like to learn while I'm driving and doing all that instead of just, kind of listening. And I think that most people, when they take the plunge, will find that listening podcasts on a regular basis is much better use of their time.
I actually had a really cool experience just over the weekend. I put together a video for the show on how to subscribe to podcasts, which I think is on the Second Shot group.
Yes.
You can go look at that. But when I did that, I subscribed to the show. And I'd been subscribed in the past, but somewhere along the way, I think I unsubscribed. And so making that video, I subscribed and forgot about it. And then Friday, when the new episode came out, it went straight to my phone because that's what happens when you're subscribed to the show. And I was listening to a podcast that evening, and it finished that one and just rolled right into what was next, which was Second Shot. Yeah. And so without me thinking about it, it just starts the disclaimer on Second Shot. And I was, I had my headphones in, and I was at home, and I was like, I'll listen to this for a minute. Why not? I'm on the show all the time. You wouldn't think I would want to go back and listen.
Oh, I listened to all of them.
But I'll give it a shot. Man, we put together a cool show. Like, we really do. Like, no, not to be that guy and just be like, we're so great, but like really, like real talk. Like, it was genuinely enjoyable to listen to, and I was like, hey, this is good stuff. Like, we're really doing something cool here.
I like it.
Hey, so last episode we talked about.
Didn't you have another one though?
I did, and I can't find it. Oh. It was such a nice one too.
Oh no.
It was one that
I got it.
It's around.
I can find it.
Okay, good. So while Heath's looking for that, we had made our sort of challenge to everybody. We're talking about getting out of your comfort zone, and also we were talking about really doing things that are risky or feel risky to you, and we're saying it's just so different for everybody. So we decided that next time, this is an example of how simple it can be, so we're asking all of you guys to do it, and we'll do a discussion in the group, all of us to put ourselves out there and do a risk. Did you find the review, babe?
I'm still looking. Okay. You can keep going.
So Matt and Heath both are petrified of sushi.
Yes,
which is ridiculous. So I'm going to go and get some sushi before the next time we record, and we're going to bring in and they'll taste their sushi.
I've thrown up before trying sushi, so this should be interesting.
So this is highly risky.
That will be interesting. We'll have a trash can handy just in case.
I think for mine, what I'm going to do is. Heath and I are on this committee at church, and one of the women came up to me right before one of the meetings and said, would you be willing to speak at this? And I was like, no, gosh, I don't know what I would say. I don't mind public speaking at all, but it was sort of the last minute nature of it. And it was also the fact that I really put a lot of stock into this committee, and I don't want to make anybody look bad by saying the wrong thing or not having the information. So I will commit to, if they happen to ask me to speak again, I will speak. And if not, then I will commit to speaking at the marriage retreat, or like like if that normally I'm somebody in a big group like that, I won't actually stand up and say something. So I will either say something at the marriage retreat or I'll say something at the at our church event. Which which is a very small audience considering what I normally speak to, but it's a different topic that I'm not as comfortable with, and I'm not as well versed on.
She doesn't like to be put on
I don't like
it to be thrown up like here it is the stand-up speech, and I'm like the type that throw me to the wolves. I'll come up with something.
There's something to be said about this, because I tell people I'm this way a little bit as well. I know it's not public speaking, but like if I'm in a studio or you have a microphone in front of me, I can talk to anybody about anything. Mm-hmm. You put me in a room full of people and you're like, go ahead and talk, like to speak to who I can't, like I don't know what that is, but I don't know if that's a studio thing or what that
is. It's a studio. I think it's a really common
comfort zone
thing. It's a comfort zone, yeah. And I've worked a lot on being okay with stepping outside of of a teleprompter or a microphone or something like that. So this will be a new level of challenge because again, I'm normally okay with it. I realized my apprehension was because it was something at church. And I felt like that was a new level of responsibility.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, I can't wait to see how it goes. Mine is a kind of an odd risk. I wish I could talk about it more, but it's kind of a secret, believe it or not. This is something I've been working on for a little while. Heath and Jenny actually know what this is all about.
This is going to be ball dropping.
You guys, it's going to be huge.
So for next week's episode, Zach will be talking about that.
Yes.
Yeah, he'll be talking about how his risk went.
Yeah.
And if
because it's a big risk.
In the Second Shot Facebook group, you may find out about it ahead of time. So you should probably go join, and maybe you'll know ahead of time.
Yeah, you might spy a little hint as to what's going on. So stay tuned, I guess. But we'll talk about it in the next episode. I can't wait to reveal the big secret. It'll be good stuff. And I promise it's not some lame thing.
No, it's actually really cool.
It's actually really cool.
And I did not find it at all.
You didn't find it? I know. I don't know what happened to that hidden comment.
We're gonna find that too.
I thought you sent me a snapshot of it, so I was going back, but I realized how much we send each other text and pictures and stuff like that's so much to do.
We do text
like
each
if we
other
want to
nonstop.
wipe out our phone storage stuff, we just delete each other's text messages and it goes away. It's so bad. Well, that's actually good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, because we're always sending each other memes and videos,
talking
and
whatever.
I don't know quotes.
Oh God, I'm not the only one that does that with their significant other.
Yeah, nonstop.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this one, and we're gonna have the next episode should be fun. Watching Matt and I do a little sushi stuff that's a really big thing for both of us, to be honest with you. So it should be fun. So where can they find you at, Jenny?
JennyAnchondo.com. On Instagram, Jenny Anchondo. Facebook, Jenny Anchondo. On Twitter, Jenny Anchondo TV. And I'm always hanging out in the Second Shot group and posting stuff in there.
At AppleZacintosh on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook.com/group/Second Shot. Get involved with the show. Rate, review, subscribe, and leave us an email at secondshotcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We love you.
And Ed Hethos at Ignorance on Fire, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. As always, I love you. Till next time. See you guys.
You're so old.
You're listening to RNCN, the digital destination for premium talk radio.